Hey folks, this is Linda Shenton Matchett, and I'm here with another episode of Moments in History. If you're not familiar with who I am a Christian historical fiction novelist and a huge history geek, and I am enjoying coming on live on Thursday nights here on Facebook and sharing a variety of historical information, historical artifacts, and whatnot. So if you'd like to know more about me, you can visit my website. It's www.lindashentonmatchett.com, and there are quite a number of tabs on that page that you can find out more about me and my books. So tonight, we are going to be talking about stamp collecting. Did you know that Franklin Roosevelt was a stamp collector? That's not a well-known fact, and so you may or may not have known that. But very interesting information that I found as far as the word philatelist, and that's a big fancy word meaning stamp collector. And when I went to the Merriam-Webster site to find out the background of that word, it says, "Who wouldn't love something tax-free? George Herpin did. He was a French stamp fancier back in the 1860s, when stamps were a fairly new invention. Before stamps, the recipient of a letter, not the sender, had to pay the postage. Stamps forced the sender to foot the bill and created a lot of stamp lovers among folks on the receiving end of the mail, and a mania for stamp collecting. Herpin suggested philately, which was anglicized to a different spelling. It combined the Greek word phil, P-H-I-L, meaning loving, as in Philadelphia, with the Greek word Italia, meaning tax exemption. So stamp lovers everywhere immediately thought that was pretty fabulous, and hence the word philately was born. So I thought that was kind of fun. So now back to FDR. I do not know how early he got into stamp collecting, but I do know he started as a child. And as a child, he was able to learn about geography, people, places, and any number of events and incidents that occurred that were commemorated on these stamps. In fact, the first commemorative stamps were done in 1893, and they were to commemorate the Columbian exhibit, and it's a very fun set of stamps, and we perhaps will see those at a later date. So he then brought his love of philately to the website, listen to me, to the White House. And he every day spent some time with his stamp collection. And oh, hello, Wes. I see you are on line with us, and you're going to be they are, and you're going to be surprised to see some of your stamps being shown here tonight. So President Roosevelt said, "I owe my life to hobbies, especially stamp collecting." And his son said, "I have vivid memories of father sitting at his desk when he had a half an hour or an hour with no appointments with his stamp books and an expression of complete relaxation and enjoyment on his face." And there are a bunch of different photographs that were in the newspapers and magazines of FDR looking at his stamp collection. And it was a big boost for the hobby and for the industry. And there are quite a few countries, over 80 in fact, that have commemorative stamps of FDR, many of which show him doing his stamp collecting. His specialties, according to a couple of different websites, were the issues of Hong Kong and the British Caribbean islands. And this is a fun little factoid. It said, a New Zealand deputy prime minister suggested that Allied forces occupy a certain island in the Pacific. And Roosevelt proposed the island of Mangareva, and the New Zealander said he had never heard of the island, and Roosevelt pointed it out on a map and shared with the guy that he knew where it was because of his stamp collecting. So I thought that was very fun. Something else that's really interesting is that FDR would brainstorm with the Postmaster General, James Farley, about designs and topics and different things. FDR used his designs to further the ideas and programs that he put into place, everything from the Conservation Corps to some of his New Deal programs. So I thought that was an interesting way for him to socialize his ideas. But the Smithsonian Museum website actually has a couple of pages that show his sketches, the sketches of his of the stamps that he designed. And from what I can find out, he designed over 200 stamps that were used at the time. So my husband's collection has several of them. I have 4 of them I will share with you this evening. So I thought that would be very fun. The first one that we have is this one right, here. It's the Bird Antarctica stamp, and that is to help support Richard Byrd's second expedition to Antarctica. He approved a stamp as partial payment for mail to the special post office. And so that is the design that that FDR actually came up with. So I thought that was very fun. Another one that he came up with is the one in the center there, which is the Susan B. Anthony stamp. And there was an original model of the stamp, but he revised it a little bit, and he added the dark oval that you see around her. And it was issued, interestingly enough, it was issued during an election year. And so there were quite a few people that felt that he was making a political statement and that he was using the stamp to further his bid for the presidency. So I thought that was interesting. The third stamp that he designed is this one over here that says Virginia Dare. And as you can see, do you see the black marks? That's part of a cancellation. So these are not mint stamps, these are used stamps, and that is part of a cancellation. And Virginia Dare, for those of you who do not know, this stamp commemorates the colony of Roanoke's 350th anniversary, and it features the image of the first child that was born in America. And FDR is the one that asked that it be a 5-cent stamp, and I guess Farley agreed. And as you can see below where it says Virginia Dare, it was issued in 1937. And then the fourth one that I have that I want to share with you is the 50th anniversary of statehood. And let me see if I can get this in front of the camera. Yeah, the center one here. And I don't know if you can tell, but there are four states that are on this design. It's a 3-cent stamp, and that's what it cost to send a first-class letter to everyone. It was just 3 cents back then. Now we're up to, I think, 50 cents, which is probably why online banking is so popular nowadays. But the 50th anniversary of North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington State all occurred in 1939. And each of those states wanted a commemorative stamp, but instead FDR drew the one that you see here that has just the single stamp with all 4 states on it. Each state released the stamp at its capital city on the anniversary of its admission to the Union. So I hope you enjoyed these stamps tonight. Again, we'll do a quick run through. Here's the statehood stamp. And then we have the Virginia Dare stamp, Susan B. Anthony, and the Byrd Antarctica Expedition. So if you enjoy history as much as I do and you'd like more information, or you think you might enjoy seeing some of my past podcasts, you can go to my website, which is www.lindashentonmatchett.com. And if you click on the podcast tab, it will list all of the episodes there, and you can click on the link and it will take you over to YouTube, and you can see each of the podcasts there. So I hope you've enjoyed the episode tonight, and I will be back next Thursday night at 6:45. Thanks, and have a blessed week.